Hey you guys, Beth Brutality, and I am back with another First Impression Friday in makeup that is going to look very, very familiar because I just recorded a First Impression Friday of these guys, as you saw last week. So, today's First Impression Friday is going to be over the Makeup Revolution Newtrals versus Newtrals palette. So some people are suggesting this as a dupe for the peach palette. I can do an in-depth video comparing them side by side because, as you guys know, I do have the peach palette. I work for Too Faced. So in my humble opinion, I would not call them, like, just by looking at them, a dupe. Several different people are suggesting them as a dupe. This guy is in here. We're going to try to use him today. One end is just a small flat shader brush. The other end is a fluffy blending brush. What I like is it does seem nice and small for the crease or under the eye. And the names, which this drives me crazy, are on a little plastic pop-out. That's going to drive me nuts, but we're going to work with it. The first color we're going to use is going to be this light color that I guess is called Cool. I do love that it has a giant mirror in the top. Let's go ahead and start putting that below the brow. So I think it's going to go on better with the other end. Let's see. Worst case scenario, we say screw this brush and we just grab one of mine. Okay, do you see all the fallout? It's not a problem since it's a matte white color, but definitely more powdery than I want it to be. Definitely much more powdery than I expected, because everybody was raving about how this is just a dupe for the peach palette and it's super pigmented and blah blah blah, and I just can't say that I share that opinion so far. So let's try a little bit of this shade here, which is called Bias, and put it just right below the brow bone. That shade's pretty. So my first impression is very mixed already. Definitely more powdery than I expected. The brush is kind of weird, but I would be okay with traveling with it. The shimmery shades appear to have more pigmentation and be less powdery than the matte so far. So let's just keep playing with it and see. I'm trying to get all of the matte cream shade out of my lashes. Next we are going to take this guy, which is apparently named Neutral, and start to shape out our crease. I don't feel like it blends so well. I feel like it does blend, but to the point that, like, it doesn't put down much product. I guess it looks okay. Maybe you just got to get the shadow going, because it seems like it's got slightly better pigmentation now. I don't know, though. I'm not super pumped about this palette so far. Is it usable? Yes. Would I use this over my peach palette? No. Alright, so we're going to use that guy, and this is where I think this brush is going to come in handy. And we're going to grab this shade here, which is called Suit. It's slightly darker. It looks like it's more matte, so it's of course super duper chalky. Or super powdery, I meant. But we're going to see. Oh, but it has some pigmentation. Look at that. This brush is weird. It's just a weird size. I don't think I can blend with it. So we're going to keep this as our brush for applying things, and we're going to start blending things out with our Makeup Forever 242 Wavy. You guys know this is like my favorite blending brush. And blend, because it's getting kind of dark. Okay. So the pigmentation is not consistent. I was starting to think the brush sucked, but it doesn't. I think the pigmentation is just very inconsistent. I'm going to close the door. Hold on. My roommate is playing the video games and I don't want him to feel like he has to be quiet, so I'd rather just close my door. So this combination is going to work. I think it'll be fine. So I would not try to blend with this brush, but it's very good for applying in the crease. So fantastic crease brush. My initial reactions to it were based off of terrible pigmentation. So, lesson learned. I think that's going to be the hardest part of using this palette, is dealing with the inconsistent pigmentation. So what I want to do is take my fluffy brush and pick up that first crease color and just kind of go back over this to blend it a little better. This side is definitely darker, so I'm going to deepen up this side a little bit. So this actually takes me back to kind of a conversation that Cassie from Thrift Thick and I were having about how when you find really good eyeshadow, it actually makes you want to experiment and try new things. Because, like, I'm already annoyed with using this palette. If this were my experience with eyeshadow, I would never want to do anything creative with my eyes. It's not a terrible palette. I'm actually liking it, but it's very inconsistent so far. Taking this guy, I want to go in with that lightest shade, that lightest shimmery shade called Bias. How fitting. And just do the very inner corner. I think since this is supposed to be a dupe for the peach palette, I want to exploit it as much into those peachy colors as possible. So here's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna take this end, I'm gonna clean it off a little bit, and I'm gonna take the deepest red shade. It's like a deep peach. It's called Tone. It's shimmery, which makes me nervous. And we're gonna start to deepen up the inner corner of the halo. It looks interesting and very patchy. So on the outer corner, I'm gonna tweak this a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and do this side. Go with it for now. We are gonna go in to this deep brown shade on the corner called Custom. I wanna go ahead, ooh, that's gonna be powdery. Hopefully that means it's pigmented though, because the other one that was powdery was super pigmented. I want to take this and deepen up, yes, deepen up that outer V, keeping it more just on that outer corner. Then take our fluffy blending brush with nothing on it, keeping it right in this area, just softening that up. I'm so spoiled. I'm so used to just like my fancy, good, high-end eyeshadow that like when I use stuff like this, I'm just like, why? Why does this even exist? Then I'm like, you know what? This palette was like $10 or $15. So one thing I want to experiment with real quick, and this could make everything more difficult. We're gonna take this guy. We're gonna use him on his side with that darker brown color. We're gonna start shaping out our lash line. I got a little bit bigger in the middle than I would have liked, but I think it'll be okay. We're gonna flip this bad boy back around, wipe it off as good as we can, and pick up that purple shade, which is called Strong. It's glittery, so I'm assuming it's not pigmented, but we'll find out. Okay, it has a decent amount of pigment to it. Using it right over top of Custom. That one is actually really pretty. I really like that color. I feel like we're starting to get somewhere. Somewhere very uneven, but somewhere. So now, to start to mirror this inner corner, we're gonna take that red shade, and let's remember that it wasn't very pigmented. Start using that on the edges of the purple shade, and the crease here. Guys, I'm sorry, but this is not a dupe for the peach palette. It's pretty, and some of the colors are like similar, but the actual pigmentation and working with it and everything, it's just not a dupe. I'm sorry. I would buy it, clearly, but it's not a dupe. Wait till November if you still haven't gotten your hands on one and just buy a peach palette. Now we're gonna take this salmony color here, and it's called Vogue. Again, on this end, super powdery, so hopefully that means it's pigmented. We're using this to blend out the edges of that red color. I feel like this would be really good under the red color. Now switch to the flat side, and we're gonna take the shade Personal. So we're gonna start with Personal, and then we're gonna probably put a little bit of Bias over top. Yeah, it doesn't have the pop I was going for. This is my first eyeshadow palette from Makeup Revolution, so I would love to hear your feedback. If you have several of their palettes, I would love to know what your experiences have been. So what I'm gonna do to finish this off is take Bias, which is that one shimmery shade that we used on the inner corner, and get the pop that we need. Now, if I used like glitter glue or eye wax or something like that, could this have gone better? Maybe. But I don't typically use those things with eyeshadows, unless it's a loose pigment. I just use regular primer. That's why I did it this way. We're gonna try to mirror the effect on the lower lash line. So we're gonna start with the inner corner with Bias, and then also right in the center of the lid. And then we're gonna take Personal, go right next to that. Then Vogue. Of course, Vogue is showing up because, you know, salmon below the eye looks so cute. I feel like I should have brought you guys in closer for this, but I feel like you guys can see the fail pretty clearly. Then that deep red. Catch those Pokemon's neighbors. Get them all. Now the purple shade. That purple shade knows what's up. I'm going to flip this around, try to clean it off as much as possible so that I can blend this. I'm going to pop on some liner and mascara and I'll be right back to kind of wrap up my thoughts on this. Then we'll check in later and see how it looks, so just hold on a second. The quick rundown of what I added to my face, I have on the Too Faced Sketch Marker in Charcoal Black with the Pacifica Dream Big Mascara. You guys already saw that in a first impressions video. Love it. I've been using the Too Faced Sketch Markers, so I never did a first impressions of them. And then the brows are Benefit's Gimme Brow in the medium deep shade. I have that from when I worked at Sephora, so I'm trying to use it up. And then my lips are in the Wet n Wild Freaky collection. They're the Velvet Matte Lip colors in DJ Doll and Creamsicle Kitty. I don't wear these all the time because you have got to exfoliate your lips before you wear them. But that's the quick rundown of everything I added. That way, if for some reason I forget to put it in the down bar, you're not like, but what was the lip color? The finished look is on now, and I feel like if you guys did not see the struggle that happened with this palette, it would look good and easy. It obviously was not, and you guys saw how ridiculous getting this onto my eyes was. So as far as the actual finished look, great. The process to get there was a little frustrating. Not a dupe for the peach palette. Again, I will do a side-by-side of those if you guys want, like getting into swatches and wear and things like that, trying to do one eye with this and one eye with the peach. I can do all that if you want, but I will just definitely say the consistency and quality are not there. Like I said, for $15, not bad. I wish this was closer to like $10, but that's again because I'm spoiled and I'm used to high-end and expensive makeup essentially putting itself on my eyeballs, whereas this was definitely a little more work. The finished product looks good, so I would buy it if you want it, but I can't say it's like, oh my god, the best eyeshadow palette. Let's get into wear. It is currently 1:50 p.m. and I don't even want to talk about how long this actually took. I'm going to try to cut out as much as possible. So we're starting pretty much at 2 p.m. I will try to check back in before dark. It typically gets dark between 9 and 10, so that doesn't give a ton of time, but that gives almost 8 hours. So I will see you guys in a little bit. For now, let's time travel. I know you guys already know what the terrible, terrible lighting means, but unfortunately I missed catching the last little bit of light. It snuck up on me. It is a little after 9, but it is already pitch black outside, unfortunately. Bear with the weird lighting. It does make it a little bit harder to see how everything looks because I just look really, really bright. But if I try turning on the overhead lights, everything's going to be super yellow. So basically, the shadows themselves held up pretty well. There is a little bit of breakdown in the definition of the colors. Certainly, it doesn't have as pronounced of a halo effect now. It kind of looks muddy, for lack of a better term. However, if you look at it, it's not terrible. It could certainly be worse. I just have mixed emotions since it was only on for 7 hours. However, I don't feel like it's going to change much more than this even over the next course of 3 to 5 hours. I feel like it's pretty much going to stay at this level until I take it off. I am going to go ahead and take off my makeup. I will try, if you guys are interested in me doing it as a dupe video, I will try to wear it for considerably longer next time. But if you're not really worried about it, I would say for $15, the palette's worth it. But I already told you guys all of my first impression feelings as far as the textures and how they went on and things like that. So that kind of wraps up this First Impression Friday. If you guys are enjoying these First Impression Fridays, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that you don't miss any of them. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.